Good evening, Bula Vidaka and Namaste. Welcome to our show. Tonight we have two guests, and on Fiji Village Straight Talk, we always bring up issues that matter to you and the concerns that continue on the ground, show about accountability, bringing about transparency, and for all of us to make our country a better one for all of our people, the people who come here as visitors and the people who live here. So tonight we have Semisi Bainivalu. He's the Pacific Labour Facility Program Officer, and Simione Masori, who is the Senior Labour Officer at the Ministry of Labour. We will be talking about trafficking in persons tonight, an issue a lot of people may not be too familiar with. Still, some say, no, it is not happening in Fiji. Others saying that it is rife. A lot of people have become victims of that. And several programs to assist our country have been put up. We'll be talking about the U.S. Department of State report, focusing on trafficking in persons and what we are doing about it, the actual figures and other issues that have been raised in it. We cannot just live in a world where we say this is all not happening and live in denial, but come out in the open, talk about it and look for solutions. So starting with trafficking in persons, Simione, a lot has been said about trafficking in persons. In the recent past few years, the issue has come to light in Fiji as well. What type of programs and what are you doing at the ministry to tackle trafficking in persons?
Thank you, Mr. Vijay. Thank you for that question. Basically, trafficking in person is a serious offense, is serious crime at the moment in Fiji. If you're looking at in a broader picture, it's not only happening in Fiji, it's happening worldwide now. That's why there's a lot of programs in place trying to ensure for Fiji to be ready to tackle this issue, which is on the rise at the moment. One of it is the interagency cooperation. We are working together with various ministries, inter-ministries, and also stakeholders. We thank USAID, who is coming on board with the Asia Foundation, for trying to assist in terms of the tackling of this issue that is on the rise. We are working with Fiji Police Force. They have this human trafficking unit. We are working with Fiji Immigration Department in terms of a screening of foreign workers coming over to Fiji, and also our local workers going abroad to see that they are following the processes in place. And we are also working with the NGOs, the CSOs, to try and see how best we can handle this together and trying to tackle the issue.
We'll be talking about the Pacific Labour Facility Program. You are the program officer, Semisi. Definitely trafficking in persons remains a major issue in all facets of the operations here.
Yes, Vijay, actually the program is well aware of trafficking in persons. So it has come up with a couple of mechanisms because there's only the biggest risk for trafficking in person coming is when our workers disengage from the program. We used to call it absconding. That's when you move away from the program and start looking for work on your own in Australia or New Zealand. So we try to tackle these issues right from the beginning. So we have things like information sessions on their contracts or offer of employments. It's very, very important that they know about their contracts of employment, the conditions, their deductions, their pay, minimum number of hours per week, and all the other conditions like overtime, leave, and all of these things. This information are very, very important that they know here in Fiji, so that when they go to Australia, they don't open their contracts again and they say, hey, I'm not familiar with this condition. And then they start getting frustrated, and that leads them to jump out of the program of the PALM scheme. And once you jump out of the PALM scheme, all the legalities that come with the PALM scheme, you're now living illegally in Australia. And that's where trafficking in person can come in, because there's a lot of sham contractors in Australia that would love to employ these workers that have disengaged, and then they pay them not according to the minimum wages of Australia, but their own pay that they want to pay to our workers,
which is much lower.
which is very, very much low. And the conditions of employment, such as full-time employment, part-time employment, casual employment, does not apply to the workers now. That's where the danger is. So we're covering that, and we're the only country in the Pacific that's conducting these pre-departure briefings for 4 days. We invest in this pre-departure briefing, and we also invest in these information sessions. So they're well prepared for all of these things that might happen whilst they're working and living in Australia.
Now, turning to Simione, the issue in relation to, as I said, some people still are living in denial that no, trafficking is not occurring. Well, let's divide this up. Locals, are they involved in trafficking people?
Yes, Vijay. We, like I've already said, this issue has been broadly affecting us at the moment. If you see our domestic trafficking, no, we normally talk about international trafficking. No, it's also happening locally. We call it a domestic trafficking, where locals are trafficked within Fiji. Basically, if you are in what we can say, impoverished area, a very poor area, or a place where people, the vulnerables, with these employers, with these individuals, do approach them to get them, because they easily say yes if you tend to come up with, with promises. See, I'll get you out from here, you'll find a better job in urban areas with this amount of money or with these terms and conditions. You will be living in a successful life. Those are some of the promises that some individuals or even some employees are using it. I'm talking about labor trafficking in the moment. Using in order to lure a person from that remote place to a place where they are being told that you will find successful life here. That is how trafficking is done in our domestic arena.
Are the cases increasing?
The case is now increasing at the moment. Yes.
And even people like those in the maritime islands are being duped into these kind of things?
That is also, I know it's also reaching up to them at the moment. Like I've said, you've been promised. If you are new to Suva, let's take an example. Of course, you will want to go to Suva. If you are from Laos or you from Kandavu, from where it's coming from. If you ask them, okay, you have to come to Suva, you'll find a better place, you'll be offered with these terms and conditions of employment. These are all the promises that I will provide it to you. You'll find a successful life. Yes, they are also facing the same issue.
Vijay, if I can just continue, in our program to the palm skin, this usually happens in Australia, where our diaspora, and I'm not saying the diaspora is not good, it's just some, they come up with promises. Hey, how about you leave the job and you come and work with us? Hey, you start at $50 per hour. So at our pre-departure briefing, we really give them, yes, sir, you can't just go anywhere and start at $50 an hour. You have to have some papers, in Australia you call it tickets. You have to have your tickets, maybe your forklift driver's ticket, and then you can start at $18 an hour. And we also encourage them, if anything happens at your workplace, the workplace becomes toxic, there's a process to follow. There's a grievance procedure to follow. There's also numbers in Australia that you can contact, like 1-800-51-51-31. That's the pump support service, and only the pump people, they get this kind of support. It's 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We can call in and then ask for, and the government is doing a lot in terms of preventing tips, in terms of country liaison officers. We used to have 4, now we have 3, looking after all the states. So you can also get in touch. And we also have welfare officers here in Fiji, welfare coordinators. And before they leave, we give them these numbers to reach out in case there's something.
Just to add on that, Mr. Vijay, when you highlighted the number, also for for Fiji, we also have a toll-free line where our Vodafone users or Inc users can use. They can dial on 157. If you come across any issue of trafficking in person, then you will reach us to the respective stakeholders to take action of any issue.
What about overseas nationals? The overseas nationals I'm talking about right now, those who are the perpetrators.
Yeah.
In trying to lure people from here in trafficking.
Like we see now that Fiji is a possible place where trafficking is occurring. There's a lot of you can hear on media, you can see on TV, even you can see pictures. People coming from abroad, Bangladesh, from India, Philippines, Indonesia, come and work in various sectors, especially in construction. If you see tourism, they also are involved in that. They're also involved in agriculture. We see that things are not done in a way we expect it to be done from the source country. Like we've been doing here in Fiji, we have this National Employment Center. If you want to send our people across, of course, we have to take care of them. That's why we have to follow a process that is in place. But in this, look at the source country, where people are coming from especially these foreign workers. Things are not that much, process are not tight enough to see that they are being brought over and work in Fiji. But that's why we see some of the movement, some of the documents, we can say it's not valid. Some of the documents, we can see some of the steps are not true. It's a fraud kind of action done by this employee. So I see that things are not being done properly from the source company. There's a lot of exploitation of migrant workers happening locally in Fiji. We see that some recent cases that have been ongoing on social media. We feel sorry for these people. No, with due respect, they are human. We are not treating them as but that's not supposed to happen, especially in our country, because this will show our picture, Fiji's picture, to the world. How we come about with this.
We definitely will be talking about it further into the show about those specific cases. Now we are talking about this is definitely on the rise because people are looking for cheap labor, and there's issues now of concern where locals are being trafficked by locals, or overseas nationals are trafficked by locals or overseas, etc. Do you believe that the level we are operating at to counter this is enough?
When it comes to the PALM scheme, so we are talking about, Simi was talking about the laxity in the sending countries. So Fiji is a labor sending unit, it's a sending country. And I think with the partnership with Australia, because now the contracts are sent over here to Fiji. And we're not sending anybody to be employed anywhere in Australia. No. There's only 400, there's only 464 approved employers. So these are approved employers. Approved employers means they've been vetted by the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and also the Department of Employment and Work Relations in Australia. So their capacity, their financial capacity has been looked at. Their HR systems has been looked at, how they treat their workers, and only then can they be allowed to come and take workers from Fiji.
The report surfaced a few months ago concerning reports about some of the cases in Australia after the death of one of the workers, and then a list of allegations surfaced of toxic environment, of racist remarks, derogatory comments, Fijian workers expected to do more with less number of people, etc. I know since then the ministry is looking into that. What's the update on that?
I'm sorry, Vijay, I won't be able to give you a really breakdown of that case. But what I can say is that the Department of Employment and the Work Relations in Australia, together with our Minister of Employment, have looked into the matter. And any updates like that, the allegations that have surfaced there and issues, it comes back to Fiji. And we insert it into our pre-departure briefing. So that when our pre-departure briefing is ever evolving to make sure it caters for all the issues that come up from Australia and also here in Fiji.
Do you think we're doing enough in terms of trafficking in persons? How we deal with the issues?
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. At the moment, Fiji is trying to better man the service to trying to tackle this issue. We can see that our legal framework is not that good enough. We are still working on that at the moment, trying to strengthen our collaboration with other ministries in terms of how we approach trafficking in person. If we say labor trafficking, Ministry of Labor is dealing with that issue, and sometimes it overlaps, where people are also engaged into sex trafficking, but use employment as a way to come over to Fiji, or even are being brought from the islands. You promise, okay, come and work in Suva, but we are being exploited into other nature of activities, maybe sex trafficking or other trafficking. So this is what we see that is the acts of the legal framework. It needs to be harmonized. It needs to be done in a way that we see whether ministry will proceed in terms of employment or labor trafficking, and the Fiji Police Force through the Crimes Act to proceed from the angle of sex trafficking. That's why I said that we are in collaboration. We're trying to see how best we can engage. We thank U.S. Aid, Pacific Rise CTIP for the for the support, training officers from different interministries, from different ministries, different stakeholders, the CSOs, the NGOs, coming together through Asia with Asia Foundation to try and see how best we can and how we approach this in terms of prosecution.
So in terms of the law, you're saying it needs to be better harmonized. Do we need some amendments made, or do we need to understand it better?
We need to understand it better, and also needs amend. If we see the Employment Relations Act, where the Ministry of Labor normally are custodian to that law, the law is currently under review to also include the tip elements through forced labor, to make it clear to everybody when there's forced labor, what are other elements that relates to human trafficking.
So our laws in the phase of amending or proposed amendments as far as trafficking in persons is concerned?
Yes.
And how long is that expected to take before a bill comes to Parliament?
It's currently under review at the moment, and on the final stage. So we are expecting that's from the Employment Relations Act amendment.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
Hey guys, it's Penny, and I've got some great news for you. I've got a podcast.
Up. Don't whack heels. We have a podcast.
Isn't that what I said?
You didn't say that. You said I have a podcast. There's there's we.
Well, when I'm doing all the talking, it seems like it's my podcast.
Well, because you are so rude. You're not very demure. You don't
maybe
give any
if you
thoughtfulness
contributed something, we
I
would have
contribute.
people
nice
would have
enough.
actually remembered you.
They do remember me. They call me the Berolino anyways.
Debatable. That is so debatable.
Well, ladies, get it right. We gotta move ahead now. Back.
I'm sorry, but who asked you?
When were you involved in this
When did this
conversation?
become a we conversation?
Yeah.
Because
Behind time, we gotta.
Listen,
No, I don't care.
We don't care
Watch
if we're behind
it, okay?
you. Okay?
You're here because of us.
Don't
Let's
talk
never
to us
forget
like
deadline.
that. I don't care about you. Let's get a load of guy. He really thought. I'm hungry. Go eat. Let's go.
Hello? HR?
Oh my gosh! Oh, what's in the box?
You're probably wondering, what's in the box? Well, if you must know, it's actually me. Before you call the police, I'm actually an app. The all-new Fiji Village app. Here's an update. See what I did there? I gave you an update. What's new? Well, for starters, I look different. My new layout also comes with stories if you're looking for something short and sweet. I will bring you the latest news on the dot so you stay updated. You're welcome. You don't have to go anywhere for content because I bring the content to you. Not only can you listen to your favorite radio stations, you can also watch online video content. Which reminds me, do you love sports? Well, guess what? With the Fiji Village app, you can stay up to date with your favorite sports and scoreboards, no matter where you are. Your #1 news website just got better with an app. Download and get updated now.
That sounds right. Okay, I got it. If I could turn back time, if I could find a way.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Sick and tired of hearing all these people talk about what's the deal with this pop life and when is it gonna fade out? The sun is fading away.
If I could reach the stars,
Bum, 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 bum. I don't know the rest of the words.
I'd give them all to you.
As the June light turns to moonlight. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la. Loving you is all I ever need. Making love with you is all good.
I take back those words that hurt you, and you'd stay.
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Street Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight, Semisi Bainivalu, is the Pacific Labour Facility Program Officer, and Simione Masori, the Senior Labour Officer. Let's talk about some of the developments that have taken place in the past years where employment opportunities, we know to try to reduce the unemployment rate, the country has been trying to do different things. And the Ministry of Employment has looked at options like having a national employment center. If you can talk about, starting with you, how the National Employment Center works.
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. Looking at the National Employment Center, this was initiated when there's an increase or a rise in unemployment rate in Fiji. So government is trying to come up with this initiative to try and see how best we can reduce unemployment rates. So it's also part of the SDG goals of Fiji in general. Trying to report to ILO and also international bodies. So this is basically how and why Fiji comes up with this scheme and to try and assist. And I believe Mr. Semisi will explain more on that.
So the National Employment Center is divided into three. One is the formal employment service that deals with local employment, and then there's the Fiji Volunteer Service where retired persons can come and engage again, or those that have graduated can do some volunteer work, gain some experience. And then there's the Foreign Employment Service where the PAM scheme and the RSC scheme for New Zealand comes in. So recently we've been there's been some news that the brain drain, and a lot of it has been up on PAM scheme, but according to Bureau of Stats there's a little bit of distribution, while PAM scheme only takes a little bit of the percentage. But nonetheless, when our workers leave, there's a gap left behind. But if you've been noticing, Vijay, the last couple of months, there was this very successful mini job fair up in the West where they had walk-in interviews. It's now putting skills and people together. So our formal employment services, they get in contact with all the companies. Do you need workers? All right, let's all meet up at a certain place. And then they advertise to everybody, okay, there's a mini job fair going on here. If you want to come, these are the companies that will be there. And then they walk in straight away and they have interviews and they're engaged. So whilst the foreign employment service is going, the formal employment service, there was just another mini job fair at the LDS church up at Rwanda. I don't think we expected that many people to turn out, but the turnout was very good. So now our local employment pool is also growing. So any employer that wants some workers can get in contact with our formal employment services. Okay, I want some electricians, and our pool of electricians will be okay. Here are some electricians. If you want to do interviews, here are some of them. We can send them to you. So now the gap for unemployment here in Fiji is also now being plugged by these formal employment services programs.
Just for those who would be watching, this is first of all starting with those who are looking for a job. It's how can they contact the relevant agency to get the details? Because we have school just finishing, university graduations that are expected to take place. People are expected to finish off and definitely looking for it.
Vijay, just on that note, I would just like to say thank you. There's a company that did a small job fair at Albert Park last week. And also there was another job fair up at the FNPF Plaza. And even my daughter who just finished her Form 7, Max, you're really right that they want to look for jobs. She also came for this fair to look for. Unfortunately, I can't give you the contact right now. It's not in my mind, but maybe in the next segment while I get the context, and I'll be able to give it to the members of the council.
Sure, that will be an important one even for the employers who are looking for work. Then I've got a shortage of labor. Now, looking at the whole program of people going overseas, and there's a big positive of money coming back into the economy, money coming back to the families. What are the positive stories you're getting as far as the people who are going abroad, definitely going for these short-term periods, earning money and bringing it back to the country?
I think most of the people that know somebody that's gone on our program always has a positive method. But one thing I can give you, there's a fact I can give you, Vijay, is an average worker in Australia sends home $1,308 Australian per month. So every week we have trainings, and there's around 90 people in the training. So imagine just 90 people in that training on that week sending over $1,308 per month. Minimum. And that's Australian. So that's 90. And then the next week we're training another 90. And some weeks we're training 150. And some weeks we're training 250. And some weeks we're training 10. But still. So we can imagine how much money the PALM scheme program is generating into our economy. And also how many families are being...
One of the things that starts coming up now, that the people who are receiving the money, at times then they say, because we've got money now, we wouldn't want to engage in work, and because the money is coming every month. How are we tackling that? I know you're talking to the people who are leaving. What about the people who are receiving the money?
That's right. That's a very good question, Vijay. So we carry out this ANZ Money Minded program. So on that note, I would like to say thank you very much to Mr. Marivia, who's the head of this ANZ Money Minded program. We've been really partnering together. And every Tuesday, every week, we make sure that everybody that leaves for the program goes through the ANZ Money Minded program. But not only that, we open it up to family members also, because we are well aware of the situation that you've been talking about. So we make that part, okay, spouses can come in. Why? Because at the beginning too, when we do trainings, We say when you go to Australia, New Zealand, you should have a goal. And that goal should not only be yours. That goal should be a family goal. So that when you're working in Australia, when you're sending money back, the people in Fiji are like, yes, this is for our goal. And it's not for me to spend. So we're trying to get this ANZ Money Mandate program. My boss from Australia was here last year, and that's what he identified with. He was, hey, this is a very good program, the ANZ Money Mandate program. But how about we take this ANZ Money Mandate program to the people so that they know about what's going to happen to our workers that are going to overseas today. There's a very good program module, the last module, module number 5. It's called assertiveness, learning to say no without being guilty or damaging your relationships. Because this is a module customized for Fiji. Why? Because of the kere. When our workers go to overseas, then there's death in the family every week. The wale calling and all our different sorts of relationships. So our workers are taught how to say no. Okay, no. Why? Because I have a goal to do first, and then other things later.
So you're really trying to get to those issues that will affect people even right down to the kere system that may affect the people who are working there. Why I raise the issue? Because then there seems to be a growing concern about some of those younger people in those families who are starting to get this money that they feel they do not really have to work. And there definitely needs to be more sessions done on that. Is the Ministry of Labour planning to do something like that?
Yeah, at the moment we encouraging people. We provide awareness. Like going overseas is not the only way where you can have receive money. You also need to work while you're in Fiji. You have to contribute, to the community, to the family. There's always be, what can we say? Some of the commitment that comes within the community, within your village. Look at that setup. So of course, yes, you have to find a way how best you can, assist. Look at the needs that are there, and also the wants for your family and also for the children. And apart from the goal that you set up with your child or your spouse that is gone over.
Can I just add on to that one, Vijay? We've been partnering with Ethiopia Affairs, and like they've named some villages, and then they all pick together to go as a village. And that scaffolding that we have, the low to the Banua and the Matinitu, they're taken from the village. Their village headman or their chief is there together with them, and they go to certain farms in Australia, and keeping in the dynamics. And then they also have projects for the village. And I think when they go together like that as a village, that will also decrease the trafficking in persons. Why? Because when you want to jump out of the PALM scheme program or the RSC program, your families are there. Maybe your uncle is there, maybe your brother, your father is there. Hey, remember, you have to stay here with us so that we can complete some of these things. And some of these villages, the projects they've done was very, very successful. You were talking about successful success stories, eh?
Let's talk about some of the negatives. You brought up the issue about breakup of families. There have been people have raised concerns about that. Some of the families where the man of the house is gone and a woman at the house, and then the family is broken.
Right.
How are you dealing with it?
Vijay, just I give you some facts, eh? According to our QLP, Quality Learning and Productivity research, 0.5% of workers in the scheme actually end up with families having problems. 0.5%. So 99.5% is still good. But then 0.5% is still a number. It's still a number. And so we've come up with, in our pre-departure briefings, we also introduced stakeholders like Reproductive and Family Health Association of Fiji, REF, to come in. And once the registration starts again in January, when you come in for registration, there's going to be an information session for you, the spouse, for you, the applicant, and your spouse. We're going to take you on a journey on what to expect in the pump scheme. How long you'll be waiting? When you're on the other side, what's going to happen to try and combat this 0.5%? And also, good news for everyone, there's a family accompaniment program that's being piloted. And next week, there will be the pre-departure briefing for this first family accompaniment. And Fiji has the highest number of families that are engaging in this family accompaniment.
So how does that work?
The family accompaniment is, now these families have been selected. They've gone through a criteria check and then a selection process. And at the end of the day, it's the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade that issues their visa. Why? There's some criteria that must, like the worker, must have already been in Australia for 10 months and has 18 months or more left to stay in Australia. So it can only work for the long-term workers, like for 4 years. And then once, you fall under this, you have the relationship, spouse, children, under 18. And then if it's over 18, the child has to be fully dependent on the parents. And then you have to prove that, set, they've met the criteria. And then the selection criteria is done from the other side, where DFAT assesses. Because our workers go to remote areas, whether there's a school, whether there's a public school. Why? Because if our kids go to the public school, it's free. Is there a hospital there? Are there services there that can cater for our families? Is there enough work there so that when mom comes over or dad comes over, he or she will be able to find work? And she's allowed, or she and he is allowed to also do part-time studies or full-time studies.
It's quite interesting, and it's starting next month.
Next week is the first briefing.
When does the first lot of family?
Around December. It could be a good Christmas present for those waiting in Australia to have their families come over.
Let's talk about these other issue that's emerging, and we cannot shy away from it. There's a lot of people now being neglected, mainly children. And there have been suggestions that some of these, because maybe their parents, in the beginning, there's some suggestions that sometimes both parents, yes, not maybe under the PALM scheme, but went overseas. And there have been stories of some people going to the US and other countries as well, where then the grandparents ended up looking after the children. And the children then get neglected on the street, sometimes with a lot of money, because the money is still being sent. And there have been stories about money, lots of money, in children's pockets while they hang around the streets. What is being done about that, and how can this be tackled? I know that one suggestion has been made that for a family, if a father is going, the mother cannot go, and that's a problem. Are there some problem guidelines as such?
Not yet. If it is, there is probably in a very, very long pipeline. But I'd like to say that there was a study just conducted this year by the University of the South Pacific, by UNICEF, together with UNICEF and together with the University of Western Sydney, with our help, next help. The study is called "The Impacts of Labour Mobility on Children Left Behind." And I must say that it was a very good research, because at the beginning of the program, we had focused only on go to Australia, make money, come back. But the long-term program is fairly new. It only started in 2019. Then 2020, 2021 was down because of COVID, and then we came back full strength 2022. All right. So along the way, we, as Fiji was like the number one spot. Any approved employer looks for any workers, first place they look to is Fiji. So as our numbers increased, in fact, we are not the only country that's facing this. We were in Vanuatu a couple of weeks ago. They also said as the numbers started increasing, then the issues started coming in. The issues started coming in, and I would like to thank those that did that research for bringing that the impacts of children left behind. I mean, we're the Ministry of Employment, and what we do is employ people. We're doing our bit. but we didn't know that. I know there'll be because the program is now in demand, and then the issues coming up. Of course, the issues will be coming up because we are sending the most number of people out of our 9 countries. And so we saw some issues. Yes, the family dynamics, when dad goes, when mom goes, somebody is forced to come up and start washing clothes. We've even seen some teenage boys having to step up to look after the children. And so once that study was made, then we said, oh, it's also in our interest to make sure to do something about children being left behind. So again, I said, any issues that come up, it always comes back to Fiji. It always comes back to the pre-departure briefing. So now when we carry out the pre-departure briefing, we ask them, okay, what's the plan on the children now? Simple things like, if there's a fire in the house, what's our emergency process? Mom and the kids, if you're left behind. Dad and the kids, if you're left behind. What's going to happen? Okay, dad's going to be staying with the kids. You know how to cook. It's a change. It's a huge change for everybody in the family. All families are different. Okay, and dad doesn't cook. Now that mom's going, you don't know what's going to happen. So when we do this pre-departure briefing, you must make sure you have these briefings with your families. What are the emergency numbers? Who are the emergency people that you should be going to? And what's the contact in Australia? What's the contact back here in Fiji? How do you communicate with each other? It's not that somebody is having a bad day somewhere and you start contacting, and then the relationship becomes a little bit strained. So now we address all these issues again in the pre-departure briefing. Like I said, the pre-departure briefing is an ever-evolving training based on the issues that are coming.
What are your thoughts on this? You see on the ground neglect, the children on the streets. Definitely, as the Ministry of Employment looks after providing employment.
Yeah.
And the most number of people employed. Are you working with the agencies as well to ensure the other factors that are coming up are handled with?
Yes, Vijay. Basically, where it's coming from, we don't really need to encourage planning the world. So, on that aspect of child labor issue that might arise. But if you look at on the other side of it, our children that just finished the exam, of course they can do work during the school breaks. If that is in accordance to law with the concern of the parents. But they're not supposed to be deaf either. They have to be supervised. But the work providers, especially the employees. With this, the concern of people or the children being left behind, we only handled by a single-handed parent. We do encourage, the terms of supervision. No, we don't want children to be seen on the streets selling roti parcel or selling puddings. We humbly emphasize on this, and we strictly monitor. We are working together with Fiji Police. We are working together with Social Welfare Department to see that their child are not being neglected. No one left idle by the single-handed parents. And we come together to monitor that this issue will not be arise.
Vijay, just further on CBs. This year we held a SIP program, Student Employment Engagement program, where we engaged, I think it was in the first term during Coca-Cola, or was it during DINS? And we engaged the school students to come in. And it was a very good program. You see, the experience, the skills, the learning of experience and skills, just coming to work on time at 8 for students, preparing them, because students are preparing themselves to be adults, to be workers in the workforce. So the SIP program encouraged coming in early. Okay, attire, make sure come in professional attire, and listening to instructions and working with adults. So your temperament, your psychology should be fixed. So those are some of the programs too that we help engage children.
There's a question in relation to some of the participants that, as I shared earlier, were saying that there's no law to force them to send money back home here. This is in relation to a complaint that we received from one person who's sent back from there, and he claims that one of the things his company said while saying that you will no longer work under the program is that you were not sending money back to your family. Can you please highlight how these issues are being tackled? Because we were caught with this person trying to say, what should happen to me? Because I shouldn't be forced under the law to send money back to my family in Fiji.
It's also the same. I think the laws in Fiji also. Say for instance, if somebody had a maintenance case, and the court can order, hey, there has to be, it's called an attachment earnings order, sent to the accounts for your employer to deduct your wages. But in the laws of Australia, there's nothing that can say, hey, you better give money to maybe for superannuation, which is a compulsory retirement savings plan. But everybody that goes to Australia every day, we do at the beginning we ask them, what is the reason for going to Australia? 99% say it's all about their family. It's all about their family. That 1% is a single person, a person who isn't married yet, probably has lost both parents. So they say, no, I'm only going to Australia to gain experience, skills and knowledge. But the rest, 99%, they say it's all about their family. And that's where we see the goals again. We bring them in. What's your motivation for going to Australia? What are your goals when you're in Australia? And what's your aspiration when you come back from Australia? What's going to happen? Most of them say building houses for families, building businesses for families. For the gentleman or lady that's complaining, yes, of course there's no law. Okay. How about your family here in Fiji that you left to go and work in Australia to come and improve the standards of living?
Just a question, you touched on this issue about anyone who's under 18 about working.
Yeah.
If you can explain, because we're coming towards that time of the year,
Right.
into the holidays, and also anyone who's above 18, if they are engaged in employment, how does it work?
Yeah. Thank you, Vijay. The minimum age of employment in Fiji is 15. So anybody above the age of 15 are free or are legally have the right to be employed in any workforce, just to ensure that it's not hazardous, not to affect the child's life, child's condition, and also not to affect the child's education. So during the school period, a child cannot be employed in any workplace. So what I'm trying to say, during the school breaks, yes, the child can be employed. We are coming near to the end of a school term, and also there will be a long break after this third term of school. Yes, the child can be in employment, but we have to ensure that it's not hazardous, and also we need to have a written consent from the parents that will be allowing the child, his or her child, to be in employment, and also a child to be paid on the minimum labor rate as per the sectors that provide employment, depending on the job classification. If a child has to do a sales, then he has to be paid, or he or she has to be paid with its sales rate according to the labor rates. And also the child can only be employed within 8 hours time frame, within half an hour or half an hour break, paid break. This is a paid break. Now have to be employed within that 8 hours time frame. Also, we have to ensure that for those below 15 to 18 can be engaged into communal work activities, maybe church or setup of church flowers or what, with the assistance of the parents, with the supervision of the parents. Those who are above 18, that's fine. They can be employed. Yes.
If I can ask one interesting question, in Australia, for those coming out for school break and working, they actually have higher rates than adult workers. In Fiji, it's not like that, eh?
In Fiji, unless if you are classified as a casual worker, means you are on call basis, then your pay will be 25% more than the minimum rate. Otherwise, otherwise you'll be paid according to the 10 wages sectors. For example, if you're a salesperson, then you will be applied with the minimum rate under the wholesale and retail, not the $4.50. $4.50 is a national minimum wage. There's a different set of minimum for different sectors, the formal sectors.
It's interesting for those people who are looking for work during these holidays, based on this information provided. We'll be back after this break.
आप देख रहे हैं इसी संडास जो हमारे सुपरस्टार ब्रश अभी आकर इस्तेमाल करेगा किसी वक्त अभी लो आ गया सुपरस्टार ब्रश
Not following me
सर
again.
सर सर जनता जानना चाहते हैं सर अगर जनता जानना चाहते हैं सर अगर rumors true sir hopefully bye सर अब आप देख रहे हैं दफ्तर के स्टूडियो में हम भर चुके हैं जेसिका जनता जानना चाहते हैं जेसिका जनता जानना चाहते हैं कि आप कौन सी मेकअप लगाते हैं
आज मैंने तो कोई मेकअप नहीं लगाया
लगता है लगा ले
How dare you GEA
तो आप देख रहे हैं यहाँ एसएन का गाड़ी पड़ा है काफी गर्जी है लेकिन एसएन साहब एसएन सर अमेरिका से आए हुए हैं सर अमेरिका का जनता जानना चाहते हैं सर आप हमेशा काला चश्मा क्यों पहनते हैं सर
तो सफेद चश्मा कहाँ मिली? सफेद चश्मा देखा कहीं तुम?
तुकता काय को है
About 20 years ago, we had a major drug bust, and you would remember, you would have been part of the operations at Laudala Beach. A lot of people in Fiji did not know what was methamphetamine. And what we are picking up on, people are saying it's readily available. Just the issue in relation to General Secretary, was that a tactical move that he ejected himself from Parliament?
Personally, it's unfortunate.
How are you dealing with those police officers who may be allegedly involved in this?
no one is above the law.
We assure you that we will be having police officers around.
As a result of that bad policy, by the end of this month, we would have lost close to about $70 million in government revenue.
Bula Vinaka, I am Vijay Narayan. This is Fiji Village Straight Talk.
Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan. Watch it live on the Fiji Village Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Demis, sabi mama na lima.
Ever kenapa?
Gol.
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight, the people from the Ministry of Employment, Semisi Bainivalu, Pacific Labour Facility Program Officer, and Simione Masori, Senior Labour Officer. We recently had a case in Rakiraki. A lot was said, and I know there have been some issues for legal reasons. There was some... a company who contacted us, I think the name that was initially revealed was similar to another name of another company and other issues. But it was a case of trafficking in persons and the way the workers were being treated. If you can give details of the incident that you uncovered.
Thank you, Vijay. In Rakiraki, yes, there were reports of trafficking and exploitation of Bangladeshi workers. More than 20 of them were individuals who were forced into labor conditions, exploited labor conditions, which is very abusive and not according to their will. This is on the construction sector. Basically, the employer based in Lautoka, and the work has to be done in Rakiraki. So the workers have been brought in by the employer, the recruiter himself, and make them to work in Rakiraki. But the only sad part is the shelter. This is the concern, and also the living terms and conditions, which is not accordance with the HASWA Act, so the OHS Department Act. This is something that is surprising, like to happen here in Fiji. As we all know that we are the friendless people. We always there to cater for each and every one, Fiji people, and also whoever comes into our shores. But this is something that, if you might have seen the picture, or if you might have seen the video, it will touch your heart. Basically, the officers and also the management team from the ministry. So a delegation was sent over from here to Rakiraki, including the OHS inspectors and also the labor compliance inspectors, to go and attend to the matter, where Bangladeshis, with due respect to where they are coming from, they are being stayed over on a container. This is not a place to stay, and they know very well that container are only for storage of items, but to let people to stay and live there for that number of the time frame that have been it's quite disturbing, and it's also sad. The ministry has taken action, also the involvement of the human trafficking unit under the Fiji Police Force. They also coming on board to investigate the matter, depend on the elements of that is in breach of the Crime Act. Also the Fiji Immigration Department are also involved into this investigation. So all these various ministries, they're taking action on the matter, and the matter is currently with our legal team to proceed further in terms of the legal action against the employer.
How many cases, for both you gentlemen, how many cases like these have you been receiving as reports? Is this on the rise based on a number of workers coming in? Was it prevalent maybe 10 years ago? Do we see a picture emerging where we need to be ready for these kind of cases emerging?
Yeah, official data on the exact number of trafficking cases in Fiji is very limited at the moment. But according to sources from law enforcers, there's a steadily increase in terms of labor trafficking, possible of victim identification on trafficking in the recent years. So what I can say that now that's not much of on record, where the ministry only dealing with labor cases in terms of unpaid overtime, unpaid annual leave, unpaid statutory entitlements, for these workers, and only few in relations to what we can say the forced labor, where passports are being detained by the employer. Maybe the legal yes, which is illegal. So
there is, according to the U.S. State Department Trafficking in Persons Fiji 2024 report, there's interesting insight into the country, and they said, as reported over the past 5 years, human traffickers exploit domestic and foreign victims in Fiji, and traffickers exploit victims from Fiji abroad. Do you believe that this has merit as far as what the report is stating?
When it comes to the pump scheme, Vijay, because of the mechanisms in place by both the governments for Fiji and Australia, and also the Pacific Labour Facility when it was running the pump scheme, we had identified cases where conditions were not as good as anticipated in the contracts, and it was brought up. And lately, the numbers have gone down, and I think it's because of the consistent visit now that our ministry does overseas. I think this year alone, the Honourable Minister and the Permanent Secretary and the senior management have been touring Australia and New Zealand to go and see their workplaces, to go and see the conditions that our workers are in. And I think the employers are now on their toes. Oh no, the Honourable Minister from Fiji is here every now and then, and the Permanent Secretary and the senior management to check on how their workers are doing. And I think it's really having a good effect in terms of trafficking in person.
The report also revealed that traffickers, including family members, we're talking about taxi drivers, foreign tourists, business people, crew members on foreign fishing vessels, and other traffickers exploit foreign victims, including from Thailand and China, as well as Fijian women and children in sex trafficking. So I know trafficking in persons, as we discussed earlier, it's not just labor trafficking. So if you do encounter things like sex trafficking, where it's said over here as people who are coming in from Thailand and China, victims of that, but there's also Fijian women and children who are victims of that. And there's a lot of cases emerging here, including, according to this, the traffickers exploit Fijian and Chinese national women and children in Chinese national-operated massage parlors and commercial sex establishments, particularly in Suva. So when you do come across that, as you said, if things overlap, what do you do with it?
Yeah, basically our approach is to engage other relevant stakeholders, but we have to see, in terms of labor trafficking, the nature of the case, whether it's related to labor trafficking, and whether the other elements are coming into play. If there's a sex trafficking are also involved, then we have to, there's a referral pathway in place where we have to report to our colleague with the Human Trafficking Unit, the Fiji Police Force. We've been working together. Currently, we are forming a task force. We thank to the respective PSS and also the Honourable Ministers for the different stakeholders for allowing their officials to work together with us. So there was a task force which involved Ministry of Employment and Labour officers, the immigration officers from Immigration Department, and also the Human Trafficking Unit officers, the Fiji Police Force. So we have to see that what other elements are into play, whether it's labor, that's where the Ministry of Employment comes in, whether if it's a crime-related issues, that's where human trafficking units and the police force comes in, and whether it's in relation to a screening of a victim or screening of a person, or if the some terms and conditions are not met by the employers in terms of visa agreement, that's where immigration comes in. So we play a role in our respective in trying to deal with human trafficking if a victim is identified.
Do you have enough funding for what you do?
Currently,
it's a mammoth.
Yes, it's not budgeted for because this is something that it's also new. The issue that is on hand, I can say that this is the first time by the 12 years on the ministry, first time to talk about human trafficking cases on air like this. So I thank the Asia Foundation or also USAID to invite us to come and speak on this, because this trafficking in person issue is on the rise in Fiji. That's why
I ask the question is because this is a real contentious issue.
Yes.
With that comes that we need enough funding to back up everything that we're doing now. In terms of the Palm Summit, because you're expanding and you're trying to make sure it's a holistic program, not just for the person going, but family as a whole. How are you making sure that your program is well funded?
Well, actually, the program is partly funded by DFAT Australia and DIWA Australia. And also in terms of running the program on the ground, we engage a lot of stakeholders. like ANZ, REF, Western Union, Forex Exchange, and other stakeholders to help us with our work on trying to make the program a holistic thing. And this is where reintegration comes in again. Reintegration is, okay, when you come back or when you're over there, what's happening here in Fiji? What are your dreams? Or would you like to come and start a farm? Would you like to start a business? And what can the people that are waiting, your people that are waiting here in Fiji do at the moment while you're away working on the mobility schemes? So we try our best to do what we can and then involve other interested stakeholders to do what they can and what they are best at. And like today, we would really love to thank USAID again and Pacific Rise, CTIP for coordinating this to come and talk about this issue. That's what they're good at, to coordinate and bring us here and bring in the people.
Provide awareness.
Yeah, to come and provide awareness on this important topic.
More of this is needed
Yes,
for the people of Fiji.
Yeah.
What are the fines and penalties in place at the moment? Is it a deter? For example, this company that did what they did in Rakiraki.
Yeah.
What was the penalty?
Yes, like I've said, Vijay, respective stakeholders have their own approach in terms of handling the matter. Like for Ministry of Employment, the shelter, which is not well ventilated, which is not in accordance to the place where a worker has to stay if you bring someone abroad. This, which is law that applies in penalties. It's a hefty penalty. Under the section 256 of the Employment Act on general penalty, individual have to face a $10,000 fine or imprisonment of 2 years. If it's a company or corporation, then a penalty of $50,000 have to be applied. That's in terms of breaching of any of the Employment Relations Act. Looking at the Crimes Act, section 112 to 117, 20 years imprisonment if a victim is of an adult, if a victim of a child, and 25 years of imprisonment. So that is something that, it's hefty, it's not a small fine. Looking at the basis of this issue, it's a very serious issue that is on the rise now in Fiji.
Do you think enforcement of the law is where it should be? Can we do more? We know that you have said that there's amendments being looked at, but at this point in time, apart from funding, of course, do you think enforcement is something that we need to really look at?
I think enforcement will also be evolving. Now that issues are coming up, and I think enforcements and I think programs. I think there was a couple of months ago there was a workshop that you attended, Asime, with regards to tips.
Yes.
And these things will help us enforce as like you guys were discussing just now, that the issues are starting to rise. The issues and then the complications will come in. And so the enforcement too must keep growing. And I think we still have a long way to go in terms of enforcement.
I just want to add on to that, Vijay. Amending the law, it's not, it's one part of it. But enforcement is the other part of it, where we have to apply the law, to those who break the law. We have to see that there's a concern that's been happening, why you increase the penalties. Why this? No, we want people to know that there's a law and you need to be abided by that law. If you are not concerning about the value of that penalty, whether it's 20 years or 25 years, of course you just inline yourself with the law. So that is one part of it, and enforcement is another part of it. We need more training of our officers. We thank USAID for supporting us. Asia Foundation coming on board to assist us with these trainings, but we need to have more of that, because when there's a change in law, we also need to come together, the immigration officers, the police force, the labor officers, to try and see how best we can apply that law.
Let's hope that human trafficking being a major issue in the country, and as you said, in the world, that we get due attention as far as the government is concerned with the proposed amendments, as far as the enforcement of the law is concerned, and most importantly, as far as awareness is concerned, as far as setting up of mechanisms to ensure that a multifaceted agency approach is coordinated to get the best results for you, the people of Fiji. That's our show for tonight. Until next week, have a great evening.